All right, some next steps for you. So you've got a plan. What you actually have is just a high-level outline of a plan. Your next steps is to take that away and create a detailed plan with individual work streams, tasks, task owners, and deadlines. Most of you are probably using some sort of task management system or some sort of system, even if you're using an Excel sheet or a Google sheet to do this, just having a line by line, play by play, how this is going to map out. It won't be accurate, but it gives you something to track the game. It gives you something to play by. And it becomes your tool for accountability, and the number one issue in businesses everywhere is accountability. This is what will give you a plan in order to hold people accountable to, and that's what takes us into our weekly meeting. Because our weekly meeting is where we review our progress on our priorities so that we can keep to the plan. If we have a plan, we are clear about our goals, most obstacles can be overcome and we can still cross the finish line even if we end up getting there by some circuitous route that we hadn't really planned for. But we have the best chance of doing that by identifying quickly when we're off track. And that's really the key in creating a plan and then using the plan to hold people accountable in a weekly meeting is to identify when we are off track. And that's really the purpose of the weekly meeting. So weekly meeting in scaling up terminology is called the 4D meeting, the 4 Ds, the first of which is discover. So the first part of your weekly meeting should be a discovery process. Primarily, you're going to review the progress on your priorities, and you're also going to review any key metrics that need to be reviewed on a weekly basis. Those are going to be very individual to you, so I'm not going to talk so much about reviewing the metrics, but we're going to definitely focus on how we review the priorities. The key with both is that we're looking for things being off track. If you had a simple traffic light system, we're concerned about the amber lights and the red lights. We're not fussed about the green lights. We can high five about the green lights, but if we have green lights on our dashboard and if our priorities are on track, then we do not want to waste the time in the meeting simply talking about the progress that we have made. I know it says here review the progress, but we do not want to talk to progress. We do not want a story of progress. What you will find is that the people in your team that are responsible for some of the work streams within these priorities will be very happy to talk for 10 minutes about the progress they've made, because it shows that they're busy. They want to show that the work they've done is the right work, etc., etc. And that's fine, but not in a meeting where you might have 6, 8 or more people, that if it's an hour meeting, you're now wasting an entire 8-hour day because people are telling you the progress they've made and that everything's on track. Fantastic. The reason to have a meeting, the reason to bring people together in a room is to solve problems and make decisions, because solving problems and making decisions is what having people in a room, that's where the real benefit comes, not simply telling everybody what you've done. Many of you will have been in meetings where somebody talks for 10 minutes and then the next person, and you're all just listening, but there's not really any purpose to you all being there. They could have put that in a report and stuck it on a shared channel on Teams or Slack or whatever, and those that needed to read it or were interested to read it could have read it, and most likely no one reads it anyway. So what we're looking for in the weekly meeting is where are things off track? Where are people stuck? What are the obstacles? And then figuring out and solving those issues to get things back on track. So what we're doing during the discovery phase is we're looking, and I like the traffic light system, red, amber, green. Are we green? Are we all go? No problems? Fine, great, congratulations, high five, next person. We can get out of the meeting room quicker. We do not need 10-minute progress updates. We want to hear the problems. And what we do as we uncover problems is we put them on an issues list. We do not solve them immediately. And the reason that we do not solve them immediately is we do not yet know if the first item on the agenda has an issue. We do not yet know if that's our biggest issue. And if we drift off into problem solving for that one issue, we might eat up all the time in the meeting and not get round to bigger issues. And it's also ping pong and a bit of whiplash going back between review, issue solve, review, issue solve. So we do all of our review first. So there's like a hard break line beneath the discovery phase. As we uncover issues, we put them on an issues list. And once we've done our full discovery, then we go to the discuss stage. We look at what our issues are. This issues list could be a live issues list that you keep that could be added to throughout the week, that people might be putting other issues on. And once we've done our review stage, we look at what the time is in the agenda, and we simply need to say, what's the biggest issue that we should discuss first? It doesn't matter if there's 2 items on the list or 10 or 100. Again, your leadership ability to focus and prioritize. What's the biggest issue, the biggest thing that we need to discuss right now with the resources of the intelligent people that we've brought them into the room and we're taking up their time? What should we focus on right now? Problem solve, ideate, discuss, and figure out what we're going to do next. And once you've done that, what's the next biggest problem and the next biggest problem and the next biggest problem? Focus simply on your next biggest problem as you go through this. Do the brainstorming with the team. As you do that, you will ultimately decide on what the next steps are, and what's important is that the team align around that and commit. Your team will not always 100% agree. What's important in a leadership team is that everybody is able to commit to the decision that is made, so that when they leave the room, that commitment and that decision is disseminated to the rest of the organization. That's the decision that was made. This is the direction that we're going in. This is the corrective course that we are now taking, etc., etc. So it's very critical that the leadership team, and this is habit number 1, that the leadership team is healthy and aligned. A big part of that is that the leadership team commit and align around decisions that are made in the business. May not always be your decision, or for every other person in the team, may not be their decision, may not have been their preferred course of action. But what's important is that after you've had the time to discuss it, that you align and commit. And given enough time, a group of intelligent people would generally make very aligned decisions anyway. But it's important that everybody leaves the room committed. And what you do is you record all of those decisions, all of those outcomes, and then a list of tasks of what is going to be done. And that's your delegation step, the 4th D. You wrap up by summarizing the meeting and clarifying who is going to do what and by when. And when you come back into your weekly meeting the next week, one of the first things that you do in your discovery phase when you're reviewing is you review your who, what, when. Susan, you said last week you would have that done by Wednesday, or by today, by this meeting. Is it done? Yes, great, fine. Don't need to hear any more. It's not done. Okay, it goes on the issues list. And so you've got a rotating who, what, when, which again, I'm sure you can all imagine how you're going to do that in your task management system to keep a track that the essential priorities are executed on a weekly basis. This is an accountability meeting. An accountability meeting should be short, sharp, and sweet. And when there are fewer issues, that can be a 10-minute meeting, high fives all round. And perhaps at the longest, you give this meeting 90 minutes. 90 minutes is about the longest that a team can focus without a break anyway. So your goal is to have this meeting done in 90 minutes. And when it finishes early, you give people back that time. So what I want you to do is use box 1 at the top of the next page, your weekly 4D meeting. And I just want you to write out what the agenda would look like for you. There are other things that people will bring into a weekly meeting, but be aware. The more you bring in, the more time it's going to take. But a lot of these things are cultural. Examples like having a welcome, getting customer feedback. Some people do a one-word open, a tool taken from EO. You might want to discuss if there are any staffing issues coming up in the next week. You may have other things that you are already putting in the weekly meeting. So what I want you to do is write out a new agenda for you if you're having a weekly meeting. Or if you're not, then simply use the 4D agenda, which is my sample agenda on the left-hand side. But take a couple of minutes just to write out what your meeting agenda would look like, but put in times. Put in times. How long are you going to spend on each of those items? Because there should be a clock in the meeting room so you've got an idea of keeping on track. I would suggest having a 90-minute meeting and leaving 60 minutes for solving issues. That's the benefit of bringing smart people together to solve problems and make decisions. Spend the bulk of your time there. If you're going to bring in other elements, 5 minutes max for other elements, for everyone to go around and say some piece.